Hey, good morning, everyone. So what am I working on now? Well, I have that 2000 Honda Accord. I'm making a video on a 99 Honda Accord. And then I have a 95 Honda Accord that's here also. But anyway, this 2000 Honda Accord, customer's complaint is water's dripping on them when it's raining. Okay. What could cause that? Water to be dripping on you? Well, a number of things. You could have a door seal that's no good. You could have a windshield that's leaking in a top corner or something like that. But most likely, almost every time I've ever seen that, it's this thing, sunroof. But it's not actually the sunroof itself. It's the drains for the sunroof. A lot of people don't realize this. A sunroof, a factory sunroof, has 4 drains, one in each corner. One up here, underneath here, for this corner, same thing on the opposite corner there, and then in the back it's got a drain that usually runs down the quarter panel area. What happens is the tubing that they use for the drains gets shrunk over time. When it shrinks, it gets pulled off the stem or the drain tube that's part of the sunroof assembly. Now, a lot of people don't realize this too, but the seal that's on the sunroof glass is there to help control the water itself. It's not necessarily a seal to keep water from coming through. It's actually, most of the times, it is designed to allow a certain amount of water to come through. I don't know the reasoning behind it, but it allows a certain amount of water to come through, and it catches in the trough that runs around the sunroof, and in the trough, that gets directed to drain down the drains. Like I said, the drain will come down this side, and it'll run all the way down the A-pillar, and then it'll come out, usually either underneath or inside the A-pillar somewhere. Sometimes you could actually see a drain sticking out, which I can't on this. Sometimes you can. Usually what I do is, on a situation like this, is I open the sunroof, and I will manually pour water, like from a small bottle, in, and I want to see where the drainage is actually occurring. So let me do that. Let me get the sunroof open, and let's manually put some water in there and see if we can't figure it out. Let's see if I can figure out how to actually open the sunroof on this thing. That's not it. So, gotta be a sunroof button here somewhere. Oh, here it is. It's on the left side of the dashboard. Alright, let's look from the outside, see what we got. Because a lot of times too, dirt. If you got a dirt buildup in there, leaves, junk like that, it'll overflow the trough and then drip in too. So you got to check all of that. So, let's come to the outside. And if you look on that side, you can actually see the drain there. See it in the bottom corner? Right there? And there's going to be one here. I don't know if I can see it. Back up a little bit. At my angle, it's hard to see. It should be, yeah, I can feel it. It's right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour some water in there, and I'm going to see if I can't figure out where it's coming from. This little bit of water from the dew from the morning, that's perfectly normal. But let me add some more to it, and let's see what happens. All right, so here we go. I just got some tap water in this water bottle here. And all I'm going to do is pour it down in here. And I'll be honest with you, it seems to be awfully slow draining, if at all. Yeah, that might be plugged up. It's going down slowly. But that's like very, very wickedly slow. Let me go to the other side. I want to see what that one does. Can I even see anything here? It's possible. I don't see anything. Usually you would see it coming out. All I see is from the dew dripping off. Yeah, there's something wrong with that side. So now we could use some compressed air gently. Yeah, see this side, it's not building up. See how the water's just not building up? So this side's probably draining okay. That other side is not. Should start to see it coming out of here at some point. I see dripping on the inside, so it probably comes down in the cowl and comes down in there somewhere. But here you see, actually, this floor is completely stained up. The plot thickens a little bit. He said the driver's side. This looks like passenger side is all stained up from something. And if you look, the seat bracket's got some rust on it. Alright, plot thickens. Let's contact the customer and find out exactly, have them tell me again what's going on. So we left a message with the customer, haven't heard back yet. However, see that? That's water coming in. So the drain on this side is disconnected somewhere. So now I got to figure out, it could be disconnected all the way up here and running down the A-pillar and down inside there. So, but the other side's definitely plugged up because I got no water coming in on the other side and the water's not draining. Yep, plot thickens. Okay, we're going to start taking stuff apart. Easiest thing to do is detrim up here. I'm going to start up here, start at the highest point first. So I want to get the A-pillar molding off. Easiest way to do that is you pull the A-pillar, the door seal off first, which I might have to get some tools for. A lot of people say you don't have to pull the door seal off. I prefer to. You can always retension the seal on this style. But I like to do that so I can get in behind here to release this. Actually, let's see if we can see something. Hold on. So the drain actually runs inside the A-pillar on this. It's kind of a dumb design, I think. Because that's a wire harness right there. Okay. Can we see anything? Probably not. There's nothing to see down there. I'm gonna have to detrim down there and see if I can't see where the tube goes. Because I got a funny feeling then it's disconnected down there. I doubt very highly it's disconnected up here, because usually if it's disconnected up here, it'll run down on the inside of the headliner here, and it's not wet at all up here. So I'm going to say that up here is probably okay. Let's pull that apart down there and see what we got. I did a little investigative work here, and it looks like somebody's already had this thing apart, trying to get to this hose on this side, and I know where it is. And let's see if we can actually see it. Let me turn my light on. If you look inside here, can you even see this? Okay, there. You see that thing right there? That like round whatever? That's the female receiver for the hose tube itself. But now, look at where that's located. Okay, now you got a good idea of that. All right. And it's all the way up inside there. So how in the world am I going to get to that? Because right there is the heater box on the inside. Here's the dash. So I'm going to try disconnecting all of this harness stuff here just to tuck it out of the way. Maybe I can get up there with a tool or something. There is no way I'm going to be able to film me doing this. The only other choice is pulling the dash out, which I don't think we're going to want to go through that hassle. But let me try detrimming this, pulling out some of this harness, and see what I can't figure out here. See if I can get to that somehow to get it either reconnected or whatever. But that's the obvious leak. I could actually see it dripping. There's no way for me to film that though. I don't think. If you look, yeah, you can't see it. But just above it, there's actually a drip mark. You can actually, there's actually a drip coming down. You can just see it. If you look where that label is, where that barcode is, just underneath the edge of it, there's actually a drip just hanging there. So, all right. Let me see what I can figure out here and try to do. So with all the wiring disconnected here, oops, hold on. Turned my headlight on by mistake. And it disconnected here and pulled out of the way. If you look up there, you can actually see the tube. You can see it sticking down there. That's the tube. And there's the receiver, that big open hole there. So what happens is the tube itself shrank over time and it pulled out of the other end. So the question is, how in the world do you get in there? I can't even get my hand up in there. How do you get in there to do that, to hook that back in place? The problem is it won't just go back in place because the tube is too short now. So the tube, Honda had the brain surgeon idea of running the tube inside the A-pillar. So if you come up here, that's it right there, and it tucks into the actual A-pillar. See that? So the problem is, though, is it shrank. So now it's shorter than it originally was. So what I'm thinking of doing is unhooking it from the top portion here, because I can get to the top a heck of a lot easier than I can get to the bottom. Get the bottom hooked up and then try to figure out something for up top here. I mean, this is a poor design, a real poor design. But then again, it did last 23 years. Well, actually not 23, but it's been like this for a while apparently. So let me disconnect this from up top there. Like I said, there's really almost no way for me to film this. But let me undo that clamp, pull the hose off, get the hose down further into the A-pillar there. So then maybe I can hook that end up, and then I'll worry about this end after. Just to give you an idea what I did, here's the pliers I used. I was able to get up inside there and grab that hose and attach it where it needs to go. And if you look, there you can see it. See it? Now it's actually inserted all the way down, and it's in there pretty tight. But I want you to see this. Check this out. So how much did it shrink? Look at that. That's a good 2-inch difference right there. That's amazing if you think about it. So I'm going to have to do the other side because I know the other side has got to be right to that point of pulling through. It has to be. There's no way it couldn't be. So now I got to figure out what to do there. I got to make some kind of an extension to fit that hose. That's just amazing that it became that short over time. All right, let me see what I can figure out there. So my idea to connect that hose is to make one of these. Now this is 3/8 tube, which is just a hair smaller. Like if I didn't flare the end like this, if I didn't do that, it's just a hair smaller than the actual tube itself. But this now fits, let me shut off the camera for a second, pretty well in there to hold that together. So now this end of this tube fits perfectly up onto the roof. I don't know if I explained that before, but this tube fits perfectly up on the roof. It's the same size as the other tube. So I got a bunch of this tube that I had laying in the back room. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this onto the sunroof, the actual channel assembly itself with the drain. I'm going to slide this on there, and then I'm going to just use these. I made 2 of these with these flaring tools, and I'm going to use these to connect the tubes. I did go to the parts store, but nobody had anything that I could actually really use that would work anything decent. So I'm going to do that, and then real quick, I'm going to make a follow-up quick video on these. This was a parts store tool. This, I believe, was an eBay tool. Junk. Absolute junk. Don't bother with this one. Throw it in the garbage, because that's what I'm going to do with it. This one is not great, but it's actually not bad either. I've had much better, but this one does work, and it does seem to do a halfway decent flare, but it's kind of cheesy. This one, garbage. Anyway, so this is what I'm going to do. Let's get these together, and we're going to go from there. So now with that connected, I got the little clamp over there. It's kind of hard to see. See it on there? Little ring. But it fits nice and tight over on that end where it's going into that tube, and you can actually see the rib from the tube there. Whenever you're doing something like this, be careful with the headliner because it's very easy to kink it. And you put a kink or a seam in it and you basically ruin the appearance of it. So everything's connected under here. As you see, the tube is in place. So that's pretty much it. So that will fix that issue. Matter of fact, let me pour some water down through the top there, and let's watch it drain out there just to make sure everything's all good. So here we go. We're going to pour some water in here. And don't forget, I still got to do the other side too, because I do have a plug drain on the other side. This should go down. Looks like it is. Yep, there we go. See, it's dripping out on the ground. So it's dripping outside, not inside, so that's a good sign. All right, so I'm going to wrap this up. I'm just going to put this all back together and then do the other side, and then we'll be done with this vehicle. So hopefully you got something out of that video. Basically, I've seen that quite often where the tubes, I don't know why they make them out of the material they make them out of, but they do, and they wind up over time, they shrink from heat and everything else. You know, you'd think they would put some kind of a heat-resistant plastic tube or something in there. I've actually seen it where they never ran the tubes. I've actually seen that where there were no drain tubes in the vehicle from the factory. And somebody's got a car, and you know the interior just smells like mold, and then you realize that the carpets are all wet, and because you know the water's running down the A-pillar and has nowhere to go because there was never any tubes. But I've seen it twice. Not in the same type of car either. One was a Ford Focus. I don't remember what the other one was. But anyway, yeah. So that's pretty much it. So hopefully you got something out of that video. If you did, hit that like button. If you could, please subscribe. All right, guys, have a great day. Keep wrenching.